Hello and welcome back to CloudLanta. We're here for KubeCon CloudNativeCon 2025, North America. We're having a great time warming the place up, although you won't notice that, but yet, because it is still frigid. It was below 30 here this morning when I came over, but to help us warm things up again today, I'm really excited. I got the folks from Red Hat on, Jimmy Alvarez, who's the Senior Principal Technical Marketing Manager for Red Hat, and Shane Utt, who's the Senior Principal Software Engineer for Red Hat. Welcome on board, guys.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So I think, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about yesterday a little bit, because I was over at Red Hat Commons, OpenShift Commons yesterday. Fun, was packed. It was a great time. There was a lot of other day zero stuff going on. Why don't you start off with?
Yeah, even though that today is the official first day of the conference, right? Obviously yesterday we had day zero, which is our OpenShift Commons. Obviously we had several events besides that. We had StageCon, like SecurityCon and Backstage. And we had a lot of great customer stories that we heard. One of the good stories that we heard was from Ford Motorsports, Ford, the company, the auto company. They were talking about their journey with OpenShift, right? They've been a long time customer and they were talking about virtualization and how they're able to modernize their virtualization infrastructure. We heard from the community as well and all the different projects. So it was really exciting. It was a really good time. A little bit exxhausting already, crazy, like when
it's
day
like a
one.
whole convention within itself.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to say, yeah.
It's a micro convention, right? So it's like 4 or 5 things going in one time. Very packed.
Yeah, I like I was saying, I was at IAC Conf Connect last night doing a panel as well, and I think when you start to look at it, you're a maintainer, you're involved in the community. How was your day zero yesterday?
So one of the things, I went to some of the side cons like IstioCon and EnvoyCon, which those two in particular are very networking focused, and it's a packed full convention in a day. The topics are, it's fast and you're getting a lot of information really quickly because everybody's packing it into the one day. But there's a lot of good insights, and that's often where people especially doing lower level stuff, and like Envoy in particular, that's where they're coming out and saying, hey, here's the new thing we're doing at KubeCon, at the Colo events. So it's often enough kind of the first sign of things to come and stuff like that happen at those Colo events.
Yeah, I agree. I love day zero. That's why I come in early every year, because we're not here until today, day one, and it's worth it. So, again, if you're out there, definitely come in early. And I know there was stuff even over the weekend with rejects and some other stuff going on. So, but let's shift gears a little bit, because I think it's been about half an hour since I said the word AI, and I don't want to get kicked out of here yet. What's going on from an AI perspective with OpenShift? You have OpenShift 420,
Released today?
Yeah, released today. Smoke them if you got them. So,
right.
Absolutely. And I think, again, when you look at it, how are you seeing this evolve as AI and OpenShift is under more and more AI?
Yeah, for what we've seen, obviously our customers, the way that we build OpenShift is that end-to-end platform, right? To support any sort of workloads that a customer can throw at it, right? AI for us is just that, another workload. When you get down to it, that's really what it is, right? So being able to have the full support of the full stack end-to-end is very, very important. So there's several features that, that we're talking about within 420, right? Around the data sovereignty, being able to enhance AI workloads, monitoring, enhancements all around that, right? To support those workloads, right? Like great enhancements around networking as well, right?
Big release with OpenShift AI 3.0 on 420.
And 420.
So a lot of new things for AI specifically in this release.
Yeah, and networking is, you got to feed the data to the GPUs, and networking is the glue that brings that all together. So
a big part of the training workloads, and that's also generally over a network is how you're delivering all of this value.
Yeah, interesting enough, actually, so Wells Fargo, right? Obviously, we're a good customer of ours. It was talking about a QCOM in London about their journey with OpenShift and AI. And the way they implemented it for the AR ML workloads is, for the fraud detection. So, those texts that you get saying, hey, did you make this purchase? Did you do this? Did you do that? All that is OpenShift underneath the covers, right? So, we've been able to sort of work with that with Wells Fargo and improving and enhancing all of that with those workloads. Also all of their internal IT support as well. They leverage chatbots like Lightspeed to be able to sort of like sort through the documentation and all those minute tasks that really speed up things, right? So Wells Fargo is one of our greatest customers that has been leading the charge on the AI.
Yeah, and to kind of stick with that for a second, because you talked about Lightspeed. Help people understand what Lightspeed is.
Yeah, so Lightspeed is just a chatbot agent, right, that allows you to sort of inject your own data, right? So whatever that might be, your documentations, for example, for Wells Fargo, the way they leverage it is for investment, like forecasting. So they're able to sort of forecast and look at different investments and like their financials and figure it out like what the trend is and allow them to make proper decisions on like where those investments should go, right?
Yeah,
so
and that's part of OpenShift AI.
That is part of OpenShift AI and the whole platform as a whole.
Yeah, no, I think it's great, and I think when you look at it and there's so much confusion around AI in general and the infrastructure under it, and I know we'll hear here and see from all over how well people are building on top of AI, to put it mildly. And I mean, I think Kubernetes is becoming like really the core infrastructure.
Yeah.
And I think
2025 has been the year where it's starting to really get real for people, and they're starting to do real workloads.
Yes, definitely, and I think that we've learned so much about AI and agentic, and to your point, the Wells Fargo stuff is really what we would call traditional AI. It's not the Gen AI stuff, which is still the workhorse of what's going on anyways. Let's kind of switch gears a little bit, because AI is AI, but Red Hat has always really been deep into the security area, and customers have tons of security concerns, especially as AI and the data is moving around more. What are you seeing from a security concern perspective from the customer engagements and what's going on?
Yeah, obviously, with these AI workloads, there's a lot of security concerns about, where you're feeding that data to sort of go through and AI do their training, right? So there's concerns where the data might run in the cloud or it might run on-prem, right? So with OpenShift, what we enable, because we own the full stack end-to-end, right? From the platform to the containers to the networking, right? And everything in between, like the GitHub and deploying applications, all of that, makes it to where it's a nice transition, right? So our customers are very, very concerned about security. So security has always been first for us. With 420, we continue to enhance those features and work around, making sure that everything that we provide for our customers is always secure, right? Especially with networking and AI, prompt injection, it's huge concern, right? Like that's something that you've seen from a networking perspective, right? That we're looking at.
Yeah. So, I mean, security is perennial, right? It's the thing that it's the job that's never done.
Yeah.
Two major. There's a bunch of fronts.
The only time it ever shows up is when it goes wrong.
Well, that's often
you want it to
enough,
be transparent.
You don't want to be in the news. The whole thing is abused.
But I think many companies are starting to get to the point where they're like, oh yeah, we got to be more proactive about this. Yeah. The two fronts two of the fronts that we've been focusing on more lately have been a future front of post-quantum. So we're pretty convinced that quantum is going to happen in the next 5+ years. So we're doing PQC, post-quantum cryptography, across the entire stack. So networking and every other org, we're implementing post-quantum, quantum-resistant algorithms everywhere. And then current day, the front is AI. AI represents a number of new interesting vectors for security. And I would say agentic probably maybe a little more so than just AI in general. Agentic's an interesting focal point because you are now giving a machine more agency over making choices and driving its own workflows. It's not decisions in the human sense, but it's making decisions based on interpreting natural language. So that's very dangerous, as it turns out.
And you have more going over the network as well, like you have MCP, right? And people are definitely concerned about security when it comes to MCP and
that's one of the big
that.
areas we're focused right now. So one of the things I think a lot of people right now are like thinking about security around agents, they're thinking of it in terms of agents.
Right.
Like agent security, the guardrails at the edge of the agent, so on and so forth. But the tools, like MCP servers, that's actually that's the first line of defense. And what we've seen a lot of is like people building MCP servers kind of just lightly wrap their APIs or something like that. Like it's just like, it's a light wrapper, just let the agent go at it. And it's like, actually, so people think about like the intelligence is all on the agent, but we're kind of thinking about it more like, yeah, there's intelligence there, but a lot of the intelligence actually needs to be at the MCP server level. The MCP server is the first line of defense against the agent doing something terrible, something destructive, dropping your database. So the MCP server should be intelligent enough to know when a destructive action is happening. And the MCP protocol, the model context protocol, has elicitations is a feature there, basically to send something back to the user. Like, for instance, if somebody were using an agent and said, hey, I need you to create me an ingress gateway on Kubernetes. Or, great, fine, that's pretty straightforward. Now, it's been running for a while. Hey, I need to change something with this. Maybe I need to change the ports or something. An MCP server is the first line of defense to tell you, hey, you're trying to like drop a port, you're trying to get rid of a listener on your gateway, that has all of production behind it.
Right.
Send an elicitation back to the user, bypass the agent. Are you sure you want to put production down today? Like, that's kind of so that's one of the areas where it's the first line of defense for that kind of thing. So we're thinking about that a lot in terms of how you develop MCP servers. And then on the other side, the MCP server responses are prompts. They're effectively the same thing as a prompt. So we're looking at, we're building with like defense in-depth strategies in mind, thinking about things like elicitation, and we're building something called the MCP gateway right now, which is a gateway like you would think of like it's based on Envoy, for bringing control and management, API management kind of things, security, auth, all these sorts of things on top of the MCP server, so they're not exposed, there's a control layer over them, and do things like MCP guardrails at that level, in addition to doing guardrails at the normal level, which is like the agent level, and that stuff we're experimenting with right now is like guardrails at that level to protect the prompts, stuff like that.
Belt and suspenders, I think you have to when you talk about security. But one of the things, let's kind of shift a little bit. I think, obviously, we're a couple of years into, Broadcom buying VMware and some changes to their licensing and stuff like that. OpenShift Virt has been out for a bit now. What are you seeing with customers, especially as they're modernizing their VM farm and they're trying to do AI and things of that nature? What are you seeing there?
VMs are here and we're all about it.
That's right, which is crazy to think, right? Because I've been doing VMs since the early 2000s, and I never thought that we would be talking VMs again, but here's the interesting thing, right, that really is key for our customers, is having a trustworthy platform that allows them to not only run their legacy, if you will, virtualization platform, but also their modernized, containerized platform, right, in a secure manner. It's very important for our customers to have a platform that they could go end-to-end and build their workloads there. We're seeing a lot of our customers go through that journey right now. As a matter of fact, there's a pretty big customer that's going with a massive, over 50,000 VMs that are migrating over to OpenShift, right? So that's a massive, if you think about it, it's a massive shift. It's not something that happens overnight. It's not something that, you can decommission all those VMs right away. There's applications that depend on it. So the idea is to provide all the building blocks that exist within OpenShift and enhance them with the OpenShift virtualization, Virt, right? And allow our customers to have that trusted platform that allows them to modernize their applications as they're building their Kubernetes environments. Right?
So deploy your VMs. If you have a transition where you want to take VMs and eventually move those apps and containerize them, great. If you want to leave them on VMs, also great. And we're trying to modernize, like he said, that experience so you can do things like that are natural already with like pods and stuff like that, like just normal Kubernetes workflows. Like expose your VMs, if you need ingress for your VMs, expose them via Gateway API. Yeah. Or if you need more isolation for your VM networks, like put them in our new user-defined networks, put VMs inside of UDNs. Yeah. Stuff like that. So it's just the same as like, as much the same as we can make it for pod workflows. Yeah, and we did a little preview of what was going on at KubeCon, and we actually got into some of like the LLMD yep. stuff and things of that nature, which is a big topic as well. Yeah. I mean, but as we kind of look out into next year, what do you see on the horizon from an OpenShift platform perspective? What do you hope to be talking about here when, I don't even remember where we are next year, but
I think we're going back to...
We'll be Amsterdam and then Salt Lake.
So back in Salt Lake, which will probably be about the same temperature.
I don't know if that's going to be great for me.
Maybe snow again.
As a Florida boy, you can see me with a puffer jacket right now.
But I don't know. Maybe we'll get a little more snow in the mountains and not on us again.
I will say, I never thought I'd see icicles hanging from buildings in Atlanta.
Yeah,
that was a new one for me.
I mean, 29 degrees this morning was ridiculous.
Insane.
But, so what do you hope that we can be talking about in Salt Lake next year?
Well, I think it's been 15 minutes, as I said, AI, right? So AI.
Exactly.
It's going to be a big focus.
Yeah, AI is obviously a big focus. I think, AI security, in general governance, right? I think the biggest thing with AI, obviously we've seen the shift of our customers where, they were working on it on development environments, kind of sort of playing with chatbots and those things. And now it's actually evolving into more agentic AI, right? All these MCP servers, right? So enhancing all and going down that path, that's where we see a lot of our customers go now, right? They're ready to bring those workloads from development, where they just, have a couple of developers playing with a couple of, LLMs, to more like, LLMDs, right? MCP servers, all those things, right? So you could talk a little bit about...
Yeah, like where we were back in London was we were talking a lot about like the 20 to 30% problem. And it's all about performance and cost. So we've got AI, we're starting to see real use cases. So now we're running them in production. Models are getting bigger. How do we optimize for performance and cost? And the 20 to 30% problem that we were dealing with was like, the idea that a lot of people running these models for production are only utilizing 20 or 30% and there's a lot of waste.
Right.
And so we've done a lot of things since then, and this is happening now and also going into the future with like we're working in upstream on a lot of these things. So like leader worker set in Kubernetes, which if you're not familiar is the idea of like basically leader worker set is like, instead of having a pod, you have many pods that kind of act like as a big super pod. Yeah. That better resembles most modern AI workloads. Right. So we have that now, but one of the things that it allows you, for instance, is like, you can separate that over nodes. So basically all those pods within the leader worker set can then share a giant model that wouldn't normally fit on, maybe they are running more commodity style GPUs or something like that, or just cheaper stuff across all the nodes, and you run that huge model parallelized over all the nodes. Stuff like that. There's also like job set, and then we have our own build of Q with a K.
Yep. I know, just to be
Q with a K. I'm not
confusing with a K.
I'm just going to call it Q with a K because it's easier for me.
It's easier.
But so like we've had a lot of success with that actually. IBM's Vela supercomputer. Yeah. I don't know if some people may have seen recent blog posts about that, but we used Q with a K and some other techniques to bring that. So that's running OpenShift, and it's that supercomputer is running OpenShift, and then using Q with a K to get itself up to like 90% now. It was really low in terms of being able to optimize and utilize as much as it can, and like basically Q with a K is like kind of bringing like, it's kind of like bringing classic HPC scheduling stuff that it's already kind of pretty well established, right. And then just dropping that on top of the Kubernetes scheduler for AI workloads and saying like, we're going to just optimize this for these more specific use cases. It's not as good with the standard scheduler, and get up to 90% and plus and stuff like that. And then there's a bunch of other stuff going on like DRA as the API for like claiming these resources and stuff. So that's kind of like where we are and where we're starting to head. But the big thing in my mind seems to be, so like the use cases for generative AI are there, but I would say they're a little more specific. Right. Agentic feels very broad.
Yes.
Like, there are good use cases to do generative. You might do knowledge bases, chatbots, you might do search engines. There's all these different use cases that work, but it doesn't cover everybody across Kubernetes. Agentic kind of does. Like everybody's going to want to automate their platform and their workloads with agents. So everybody needs agents. So that's kind of the big thing that seems to be like, AI is really starting to hit hard now with agentic, and that's going to be a huge focus for 2026.
Yeah, and data sovereignty too, right? Like data sovereignty is something that, especially in, we've seen it in Europe, right, with DORA, right? Obviously because we own the whole stack end to end, it's really interesting, like to be able to support all of that, to be able to have all your data within your, regional space, right? We're starting to see that also in the US with some defense contractors and things of that nature. So, I think those are really the main themes, right? AI, security, data sovereignty, that is sort of like what we're looking forward to in 2026, enhancing that. Yeah, no, I think that sums it up. I mean, now we can just shut the show down because we talked about everything. I mean, you guys have been great. I really appreciate you coming on board. Thanks for warming up the room with me here today. I really appreciate it. And thank you for watching this episode from KubeCon CloudNativeCon North America 2025, live from Cold Atlanta. See you soon.